Hey guys, welcome to session 5 of the Money Mindset series. Well, today's session is kind of special because I'm talking about what I believe is the superpower that we humans have. I call it improvise and adapt. Not sure what I'm talking about? Well, just keep listening and you'll get the drift. So today we're going to talk about emotions and how sometimes, no matter what our best efforts are, we still feel so blocked and so stuck in life. We feel like we cannot push past whatever it is that is going on with us. Well, in times like that, you need to remember one thing. We as humans are capable of improvising in any situation. We are capable of adapting in almost any situation. The problem is that we have all been conditioned to adjust. So we're thinking more about adjusting rather than adapting. So I want you to flip that word in your mind for yourself firstly, right? The other thing, I know that today's session may feel a little intense for some of you because we're going to be talking about some very deep negative emotions. However, just keep listening and you'll realize that today's session can actually help you get through not just money issues, but a whole bunch of other things in life too. So I know that a lot of us battle negative thinking and we have these deep negative emotions that we are unable to work through, we are unable to process it, and we are always almost paralyzed by it or overwhelmed by it, right? Well, I'm breaking these emotions down for you today and I'm telling you right now, they're not your enemy. Every emotion, positive or negative, has a function. So we're going to look at 5 of those main emotions and we're going to work through those. For the next 30 minutes, park your money goals aside. Park whatever it is that you have done up until now in that willingness and unwillingness list, in the rewriting your money story and all the previous sessions. So what am I talking about today? Well, I'm talking about fear, anger, guilt, shame and pain. These are the 5 big negative emotions that we battle in different forms. If I take fear, well, some of us are afraid to take that leap, to get out there and do the things we need to do. We are inhibited, form of fear. We have self-doubt, form of fear. We have anxiety or we feel anxious or nervous, forms of fear. Then there's anger, which can come up in the form of frustration, helplessness, powerlessness, resentment, even regret often brings up anger, right? Then you have guilt. Well, a lot of us know about guilt. It's always about, I don't want to let anybody down. I cannot choose myself because then I'm not placing others before me. How can I do something for myself when I should only be doing things for others? Then comes shame. Am I good enough? Ashamed that you will fail. Ashamed that you don't look good enough. Ashamed that you don't have enough money. Ashamed that you're not doing as well as your sibling or friends are. Then there is pain. Deeply hurt because you're not being supported by the people that you love. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be even colleagues. Pain because you feel you're stuck with the wrong boss. Pain because you have this sense that nothing ever works out for you no matter what you do, and maybe that the whole universe is against you. These are those 5 states. And most of us are spending a lot of time in one of these or jumping from one to the other, right? Yes, it's all very easy to say gratitude, be thankful, stand in gratitude, have faith, acknowledge yourself, appreciate yourself. It's easy to say it, it's not easy to do, but it is still doable. So let's first break down the emotions and understand what are we actually facing and what's the purpose of it. Well, fear has 2 very clear functions. It's there to either protect you or it's there to shine a light on your own limiting belief. So as an example, if I'm standing on the 6th floor of a building saying I'm going to jump, my fear is going to tell me that you're either going to die or you're going to turn into a vegetable, so don't jump. It is obviously trying to protect me. But say the fear I have when I'm standing, I don't know how many of 100 meters up on a bridge with a harness around ready to bungee jump, maybe even in tandem with somebody. Then my fear is showing a limiting belief and allowing me to break through it. It's giving me that opportunity to evolve, right? I'll give you another example of fear. Say you have an exam coming up. This is a fear that a lot of us have faced. I think almost everyone has faced it in different ways. So you have an exam coming up and you've studied for it. But when you're sitting there in the examination hall, you're still panicking. Well, that fear is shining a light on your need to build your resilience, your need to believe in your own actions and in your own efforts a lot more. Right? That's what that fear is about. But say you did not study at all and you're sitting there staring at that question paper, not knowing what to write. Well, your fear all along those days before the exam was constantly telling you to study so that you did not face this. Fear is either protecting you or limiting you. Now I want you to think and ask yourself, is this an emotion you battle when it comes to money? Maybe some of you feel anxious about how are you going to earn that money that you want to earn. Well, if you are feeling anxious, I want you to know this. First of all, anxious is a valid emotion. All of us feel it. Every single one of us feels it. It is when you hand your power over to anxious, it turns into anxiety, which is a syndrome not everyone experiences. Right? But when you feel anxious or you battle anxiety, what is going on possibly is you are trying to control something. You are not able to trust in your own self. You are not able to trust in what life will give you. You are not able to stand in uncertainty, and hence you are trying to control the outcome of everything. What you want to do here is learn to figure out how you can stand in faith, how you can build trust, how you can build resilience. Tough times don't always spell the end of things. Tough times are usually an opportunity to evolve. So that's what you want to think about. That is what fear is about. Now let me give you the next one, which is anger. Anger usually is about, it's like somebody, it's that friend who's knocking on the door to say, hey, you need to look after yourself a little better. Anger tells us where we need to place our boundaries and where those boundaries are being broken without permission, where somebody is violating our space and my sense of self. Anger comes up to protect me. Anger also comes up to tell me that I need to be more careful and cautious with certain people and in certain situations. Anger is coming up to tell me to look after myself better. So if you have set a goal and you are not chasing it and you are giving in to fear, anger will come up to tell you to stop doing that. That is what anger is about. If you are angry with, say, a parent for not supporting you, it's telling you a relationship that needs to be healed. It's showing you that. It's telling you you need to place a boundary, you need to have a conversation, you need to figure out how to heal that space. That's what anger is about. Anger also comes up when we feel helpless. For a lot of us, helplessness, powerlessness will lead to us getting angry with our own selves or angry with the world outside. Well, it is only highlighting the fact that you need to learn something or you need to build something in order to overcome that helplessness. That's what anger is all about, right? Coming to the third emotion, which is guilt. Guilt is a shadowy thing. You know, it kind of creeps up on a lot of us. And it has a lot to do with conditioning, a lot to do with what you have been told as a child all the way growing up, right? So if you were told that you're such a good girl or you're such a good boy, you always listen, you're so obedient, you will realize that as you grow up, you find it very hard not to be obedient. And what guilt is trying to do, it's trying to show you where you need to strike the balance. But guilt is also the voice of my conscience. It's allowing me to stay within my own limitations. And not because I'm a limited being, but because there are certain ethics and certain belief systems that I play along with to feel comfortable. And these beliefs and these ethical ways of being are what make me who I am. They are my principles in life. And guilt will try to keep me within the realm of those pieces. So if I break through that, then guilt will knock on the door and say, hey, you're not feeling good because you are not true to yourself. That's what its real purpose is. But for most of us, guilt is controlled by our conditioning, what we have been made to believe about ourselves. So for instance, if you are told you're a good and obedient person and you continue to do that, if you are told that you must always put family first, you must always put that person first. In your life, your partner or your spouse should be the most important. In your life, earning money should be the most important. Or in life, the only thing that matters is personal relationships. Then when you go against any of these beliefs, any of this conditioning, you will find guilt knocking on your door. So guilt is there either to keep you in line, in sync with who you really are, or to shine light on all of that conditioning noise that you are struggling with and to tell you what needs to change and what you need to break free from and which piece of your conditioning may not really be true and aligned to where you are right now. Yes, we were all conditioned a certain way, but life evolves and this conditioned mind also needs to evolve. Shame is a close cousin of guilt. When you feel guilty, you also feel ashamed, at least in most of the situations. Well, shame is about knowing who you really are, what you really made of, what is it that you believe in, and then staying aligned to it. So like I said, it's a close cousin of guilt. But shame, a lot of times, is about the outside world. It's the outside world that is binding you down with how you should be. So, if you are fat, you should be thin. If you are thin, you should be slightly chubbier. If you are short, why are you not tall? If you are very loud, speak softly, that's not good manners. Shame is a lot about what the outside society dictates upon us. That's where it rises up the most. But the way to tackle shame and what its real function is to keep you aligned to your true self. So guilt and shame are all about conscience and what and who you truly are. Coming to the last one, which is pain. Pain is often the result or the culmination of these four emotions. Pain is also directly about someone hurting you or a situation falling flat every now and then and causing damage. So pain is about intellectual, emotional, physical wounds. But pain is also important. I have a very interesting perspective on pain, or rather I received this when I was on a holiday in South Africa. I was in the elevator and the elevator doors were shutting. And this gentleman runs from the outside and puts his hand in between, and the doors really smash across his hands and pull back. So when he jumped into the elevator car, my first reaction was, oh my God, are you okay? Is your hand fine? And he looked at me and smiled and he said, yeah, I'm good, I don't feel pain. To which I said, okay, what does that mean? But to which my cousin, who was standing with me, said, wow, that's so cool. So he looked at me and he said, yes, I have a nerve disorder. It's a genetic thing or something where he doesn't feel pain. But he looked at my cousin and he said, it's not too cool because if I were to burn my finger, I wouldn't know till my whole hand had burnt. So you see, pain is important. It's there not for you to suffer, but it's there for you to understand that you need to again take care of yourself. Something is hurting, something needs to change, something is not right in your life right now. Someone needs to be told off or some kind of a boundary needs to be placed. Something needs to shift. All 5 negative emotions are there for you to change something. So here's what I want you to do. Take that piece of paper and pen and write down these 5 emotions, leaving space under each one of them. fear, anger, guilt, shame, and pain. Now I want you to think about money and all that money that you want to earn and all those dreams that you have, and ask yourself how each of these emotions is blocking your path from reaching your goals. That's what I want you to ask yourself, and those are the pieces I want you to write down. Now, once you have written this down, I want you to know that you are standing in awareness, which is a beautiful thing because it tells you what you did not know about yourself. It tells you things you may not have realized about the situation, about the people involved, and about what you can even do to get yourself out of it. But here's what happens with awareness. You now know what needs to change. So once you are aware, you stand in setting certain goals of what needs to change, what needs to shift. And now we come to the superpower, which is improvising. So the trick to improvising is actually very simple. And I discovered it on a meme, or rather one of those quotes that are floating about on Facebook and Instagram and wherever else you go. It says, start where you are, do what you can, use what you have. Now here's what happens for most of us. We're all living in, when that will happen, then I will do that. Improvising is the exact opposite of that. There's no longer living in that space of when that will happen, then I will do that. Because essentially then you're living in the future, and the future does not exist. It's a figment of your imagination. The only thing that exists, the only thing that has substance is the present. Well, in the present, you start where you are. You do what you can and you use what you have. So if you had to start chasing your money goals right now, answer these three questions, or rather write down what these three spaces look like. What does starting where you are mean? What does it look like? What does do what you can right now in this space mean? What is the action that you can do immediately? And what is use what you can? What are the resources that you already have from where you can start chasing those money goals? That's what improvising is all about. And adapting is about working through your emotions and then moving past them, right? So when you are in this improvise and adapt space, when you are in this space, you are talking about working with whatever you have. You are on your feet and you're making these quick decisions to say, okay, this is not working. What are my options? Let me go and do number 3. That's what you're looking at. What does this do? It takes you from being a problem-oriented person into becoming a solution-oriented person. And a solution-oriented person needs to understand his or her emotions and needs to process them and work around them. The best way to process emotions is to accept them and to acknowledge them. Don't reject it and don't resist it. If you are afraid, sit down and in a single sentence write down, what are you afraid of? I am afraid I am going to fail. Great. So how can you improvise and adapt right now? I am afraid I am going to fail. So start where I am. Okay? What can I do right now to battle or to overcome this fear? Well, I can maybe sit and do an affirmation. I can maybe write down, why do I think I'm going to fail? What is making me say this? So that's what you do. Then you come to do what you can. Okay? So what can I do with this awareness to shift it? I need to learn 1, 2, 3 things, or I need to say these affirmations every day, or I need to learn to believe in myself a little bit more. Maybe that's what it is. That gets you to number 3. Use what you have. So what do I have in front of me right now that I can use? Well, I have a friend who always believes in me, so I'm going to call her up and have a conversation and shift my mindset. I'm going to take this piece of paper and write my affirmation down 20 times so that my mind wraps itself around it. I'm going to get up and take these 3 actions so that I learn to believe in myself. Improvising and adapting can be this simple in a lot of cases, and in some it can be slightly harder, But like you learned in the previous session, break it down to build it up. If there's one thing I learned in the coaching space, it's that tiny actions can have massive impact. So don't underestimate what you can do right now to shift what you are going through. Now take the money blocks that you have. Think about an immediate block that you need to deal with. Something that needs to be dealt with this week or this month. It could be a habit. It could be a story that you keep repeating in your head. It could even be something that's just happened. And put down which emotion is the loudest. Figure out what you need to accept and process it. Then answer the 3 questions and improvise in this situation. Start where you are, do what you can, use what you have. These are the 3 elements you have. Take it, use it, and move past that money obstacle. So that's session 5, improvising and adapting. And like I've said in the previous session, it's not a tool that can only solve money issues. It's a tool that you can use to solve a whole bunch of things. By now you may have realized a lot of stuff about your own self. Well, write those insights down. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. Well, take the not so good and change what needs to change. Write to me on chetna@circleofpositivity.com. My Instagram handle is positivityangel and my website is circleofpositivity.com.